Welcome to another episode of the Protein Bros Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Wasserman. As with me, as always, is my co-host, Kyle Combs.
What is up, guys?
And we are here today with a very special guest, Sheri Pettit. Say what's up, Sheri.
Hello, hello, hello.
We are here to remind you all that this is a free podcast. So if you were listening today, we would hope that you can do us a favor. If you're enjoying what you're listening to and you've listened to the episodes before, we just hope that you share it. Give us a share. Tell a friend. We're doing our very best to support local fitness, and we hope you do the same. Sheri Pettit is very special to Kyle and I's hearts as we move to supplement superstores in Kansas City.
She's an original.
Before we had ever even moved here, actually, we worked an event, and we didn't know a single soul in Kansas City as far as fitness people goes, it felt like.
A natty bodybuilding show.
Natural bodybuilding show up north, which they are not held at this like airport hotel convention center we were at the time.
Right.
But we met Sheri, who is the owner and operator of the Port in Westport, which is a private gym. Not private gym, I'm sorry. Let's say it's not private. It's actually a public gym.
It's public. However, it's tucked away that everyone, like, you get that private experience.
You will absolutely not be able to find it parking-wise the first time. You will be cursing. Give yourself an extra 20 minutes because you will be so frustrated with not being able to find the parking lot because Westport is just a very difficult place to drive around. So, anywho,
it's the hidden gem.
It's absolutely the definition of hidden gem when it comes to gyms because it's been around a long time now. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
What year are you on?
8.
8 years.
I know, right?
Crazy. When we met, Sheri was just starting to grow, doing really well. And this was over 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And summer of 2016.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there talking, and you were just telling us about what you got going on. And just honestly, guys, people in the fitness industry, especially not true, I guess I would say, in so much in Kansas City anymore. We're trying to make that change, and I know that you're a great part of that. It's just people are not nearly as friendly. There's a lot of ego involved, and so when people figure out that you're kind of doing what they're kind of doing, there's no like definitive way typically to say, I'm the best trainer, I'm the best gym.
Yeah.
Right. And so people kind of have this like chip on their shoulder when you talk to them if you're in the same kind of world as them. But you have been the opposite, and I feel like you have been.
Yeah, when we first met you, we basically, me and Jeff had gotten the approval from our corporate locations to go work an event, even though we hadn't opened a store here yet. So we were working this event, and we had this booth that we set up, and everybody was coming up to the booth, and they're like, oh, where are you guys located? And we're like, oh, we actually don't have a location.
Get excited.
Right.
We're like, get ready, though. We will have a location here.
We're coming in Overland Park.
Coming at some point.
And they're like, oh, I live like 10 minutes from here. That's an hour away from me.
Right.
We're like, oh, perfect. Let me go to this general, fitness, this bodybuilding show, and there's gonna be people from all over, and then like, oh, where are you guys opening? Out in Overland Park. Oh, okay. Well, I'll see you, I guess, in a few years when you get one up here in Liberty, or
right.
when you get one here in Lee Summit, or
from that first time though, we met a lot of people that were like, hey, what can you do for me? And then we met a lot of people that were like, the opposite of that. Like, just, hey, we want to be friends. And you were always like one of those people that were like, hey, let's be friends, And I know I can speak for myself and Jeff. We've always appreciated that about you and about the relationship with the Port and you specifically, is that it's a weird dynamic, but the less you try and get from somebody, the more you actually get from somebody. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just kind of one of those things where
you get what you give, man.
Yeah.
And, I do want to pause and say that we do have a lot of new listeners. And I just want to say that, if you're not intimately in our group as far as our culture goes, Kyle and I started off with just being retail employees at a minimum wage level back at Supplement Superstores at the original location down in Springfield, Missouri. And it took us about 9-10 years to open up our very first of our own franchise locations in Kansas City. And now we have 8. And so when we started off with just the one, or before we even had just the one, people weren't nearly as friendly to us as they seem to be these days. And I would just say that Sheri was one of the very bright and shining examples of just how to treat somebody who is getting started. And we love you for it. We appreciate you for it. We're so happy to have you here. You're our first show of the new year in 2023. And
it makes sense though, because you were basically starting, not brand new, but I mean, 2 years in, it's not very long into being in business yourself. So you probably saw in us a little bit of like, I know what they're about to go through.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh man, Sheri went through so much. So that's what's part of the fun of this podcast, because I know that you moved from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
This is a very, very proud Pittsburgh
Screw
citizen.
the Steelers.
Ouch.
Yeah,
Screw them.
she loves the
We're having a low
Steelers.
year,
Listen,
and
they're-
you're just going to kick us while we're down.
Listen.
So many Chiefs players training at her facility.
I watched Le'Veon
Dates
Bell
Chiefs
run all over us once.
and loves the Steelers.
Right.
She plays hard to get. That's why the Chiefs love her.
Is that why?
Probably true. Probably true. 90% fact, maybe true.
Hey, thankfully I've moved on from all of that and happily engaged to someone who is not a player.
Well stated. Yeah. Excited about that. But there were some really good friends you've made along the way.
Absolutely.
Let's just, for fun, let's just drop some different Chiefs players that have trained at the Port. We know Eric Berry was there all the time back in the day. Who else has been by the Port?
Chris Conley was there. And Eric always had other people coming through and training with him and getting therapy and stuff. Like he actually rented a small space in my gym for, I don't even know how long it was, 2 to 3 years. And that's where he had like his treatment. Like he would, fly his doctors in and everything. He was one of the like nicest, kindest people you would ever meet, and very, very humble. And I think it was a good fit because we are so hidden back there that he had his own privacy. Like I remember I got off on a plane coming back from Pittsburgh one time, and it was like midnight. I go in there and he's training. Like the only one in the gym, or like him and his uncle would be there and they're training. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, what are you doing here? Like, but that was his quiet time. He was able to get away and just do his extra work.
Yeah, you guys are 24-hour access, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is great, especially for someone like him.
Yeah.
This is
Was
a
he
little
training there when
sidebar.
he went through all of his, the hardships that he went through?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, first cancer,
And then
and second there was a
his-
torn
it was
Achilles.
Yeah.
That's really what made him retire, right?
Yeah.
Was the torn Achilles. He just never felt the same after that, did he?
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard to come back from that, especially everything that he had gone through in the past. But I mean, a lot of players, once that Achilles is gone, it's like, that's just a tough thing to come back from.
Yeah, man.
Period. At that level.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, especially when you got to be fast twitch on your movements and so forth. Question I was going to ask, this is kind of a current events topic here, but you're from Pittsburgh. There's no doubt in my mind you have to know somebody that knows DeMar Hamlin.
Oh yeah. Well, so
for sure you have to.
And honestly, I haven't really stayed too much. I've been having a lot of things going on lately with like planning the wedding, everything.
Sure.
We're kind of
Happy engagement, by the way.
Thank you. We're kind of breezing through stuff. So I'm like, man, I got to save the dates out like now. I got to figure out where my venue, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I know that's happening, but like I know it happened. I watched it and stuff, but I really haven't spoken to anybody back home. But I did my internship for my master's degree at University of Pittsburgh for the football team. I did football operations there. And so
you were like down on the field for games and stuff, weren't you?
Yeah.
That DeMar Hamlin, for you guys that are have not heard, he is the Bills safety that went down and went into cardiac arrest on the field. This just happened last Monday.
Yeah.
4 days ago. So as far as this recording goes, and good news is, I don't know if you guys saw like an hour ago, they just released that he is awake.
Yeah.
That's great. That's so
He's
great.
awake.
Supposedly he's communicating.
Wow.
He wrote down on a piece of paper whenever he finally woke up who won. He wanted to know who won the game.
Wow.
Yeah, which is cool.
Still thinking of his team.
Well, the fact that he has the brain function to do that and knew that he was playing and knew what was,
That's huge.
what's at stake. That's crazy.
That's really
I mean,
huge.
he was dead. He was,
Yeah.
9 minutes of CPR. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's surreal. I mean, when it happened, everyone's like, "Oh, that hit." They kept thinking like neck or head. And I'm
Sure.
like, he stood up.
Yeah.
And then fell. I'm like, that wasn't.
That's
the
hard.
hit.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You had what?
You don't get up if it's head.
What's weird
Right.
about that to me, the whole situation, is I've watched football forever. I grew up playing football. I played football in high school and college. You don't hear about situations like that happening, and there's hits that are happening. Every play there's freaking. It's just for that to happen. And for it to be just a cut and dry, it was caused because of the hit.
Right.
It's like, man, there's got to be, I just don't know. It seems like one of those things where it's like, who knows what's going to come out if he had like an underlying heart condition,
right?
If he had, some kind of, I know JJ Watt had, didn't JJ Watt just come out and he had some kind of heart AFib that was going on that was causing him to want to retire as well. But it seems like, man, that's just an unbelievable circumstance to have happened, especially watching it. I was watching it live and he just got up and then he just fell down, and it was
like his soul was just taken from him. Right. It was unbelievable.
It was instantly that every player around him knew that was different than anything that they saw. They're all pointing like,
Bengals player was like, oh, hey. Yeah, dude. And Sheri, you spend way more time than I've ever spent in the sense of knowing more about than what people tell you.
Yeah.
Right. My question is, what do you think it was that actually made him fall like that? Like, what was it, the hit, or do you think there was some prior something?
I don't think it was a hit unless, there is this theory that like a hit to the sternum can cause that.
It was, I believe, Cordia. Yeah. I have the term for you guys right now. Luke, I got your job. Don't worry. It's because I sent this to everybody. It's called Commodio cordis.
Okay.
Google it.
I'll have to look it up.
But it's it's a once in a lifetime.
I feel like I'm spelling bee right now.
Have you read that Wikipedia though?
Yeah.
That Wikipedia in there, it says that only happens in totality to 17 people a year.
Right.
Yeah. And it's always in like things like baseball, and it's typically in kids that are under 14.
Yeah, kids that are under 14 is the most common trait.
When you read over that, you're like, dude, that's like getting hit. If that's what happened to him, it's legitimately like the same statistics of like somebody getting hit by lightning twice at the same time.
Right.
It's just like awful bad luck.
Have you heard this? Oh, please.
Yeah.
Share.
I don't think I'm not going with that theory. And if you, you guys know me well, so you know where I stand with everything, and what my thoughts are on current events and in the past couple of years. But the statistic of, I think I even posted it on my social media, how many athletes under the age of 29 that have died since January 2021 is like 1,500 and something, and it's usually 29 per year. So I'm not saying that it was something that was, put into people's body. However, there could be a correlation there.
I've been reading.
It's weird as a society that
go ahead.
That we're so like split on that. It's like there's you can't look at things like objectively anymore.
Everything's so polarizing.
It's very political. It's very polarizing, and if you guys haven't picked up on it, we're talking about getting a vaccine. So the vaccination process, I saw that like Hamlin was administered a vaccine in late December, as far as a booster goes. And then you look at the cardiac events that have happened in sports. Yeah. Recently at an international soccer game, guy goes into cardiac arrest right on the field and had to be resuscitated by a teammate.
Yep.
There was cardiac events. I just read this stat. Again, the legitimacy of this stat, I don't know. I truly
You're
don't.
A doctor, Jeff. Look
yeah, dude. I'm just saying that, this medical journal, that someone posted that, of course, could have been, like we're talking about before this even started airing about just what do you even know anymore?
Right.
And with the deep fakes and the artificial intelligence that's going on nowadays, it's just like you don't even know what to think.
Right.
But they showed 1,101 was the amount of athletes in 38 years up until 2020 that have had cardiac events while playing the sport.
Right.
And we've had that many in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Or there's been more.
Right.
There's so many across the world. A lot of them have been international soccer players. You see a basketball player, collegiate basketball player, just fall out in the middle of a game. You see refs fall out in the middle of a game, or tennis, the girl in the tennis court. Bam. It's so heartbreaking because they weren't really given a choice. And that was my big thing too. Like for me, like you guys know that I have Crohn's disease, and that's something that stems back from 2013. That's when I was diagnosed, and I can track it back now that I know what it is. I can track it back from before that. But they kept telling me, every doctor kept telling me it's hereditary. That was their only answer for how this happened to me. And I'm like, I know my lineage really, really well on both sides. So that's not the answer. So whenever you have that questioning, you're like, you start digging for your own answers.
Sure.
So I started reading medical journals. I started reading, all kinds of different things like studies and how certain things affect, your body. And my mind's blown just from all of that. And I had to really learn how to adapt without pharmaceuticals. After I had surgery in 2015 with part of my intestine removed, and I had to really learn to like how to treat my body and for it to not happen again, But I questioned vaccines then. If you think about it, and it's not like I'm anti-vaccine. There is a place for it. There's a place for, modern medicine for sure. But when we were kids, we got like 12 of them. Now babies are getting like 60 to 90. I mean, the number has just gone through the roof. And it's like, why do we need that many? Why do kids need that many? And then when this, the whole pandemic rolled around, it wasn't even a question. Like you couldn't even question it, or you were like the grandma killer, which was so crazy that you're like, hey, I just want to be hesitant about what I put into my body. I mean, we think about what we put into our bodies all the time with supplements, with food, like.
I think if you're in the fitness industry,
you've relied on your own health,
your
own work for your health for a long time.
Right. I was never in a rush to go get a vaccine because I feel like my immune system is resilient. I train a lot. I eat very well. I supplement with things that help with increasing immunity.
Right.
And so I was never like in a super big hurry to get it, but it was very strange during that time because of the unbelievable top-down pressure on, the forcing of people. That's when it really, for me, it had nothing to do with vaccines per se. It's when somebody starts forcing you from a top-down position, like I instantly, just because of my personality, I'm like, ooh, no.
Right.
I don't know if that's, there's got to be some correlation there between like, being a business owner and wanting to take risk, and it's like when somebody tries to tell me like you have to do something just because my personality and your personality probably too, I'm very resistant to that. I'm like, oh, don't tell me what to do.
Right.
Like that doesn't even have to do with like vaccines per se. It's just anything in general.
Right.
I think it's also, that's kind of probably why in America there wasn't as much uptake as there were in other parts of the world where they were having 95%, in America, and I think it was 75% vaccine uptake, and in other parts of the world there was like 95%, and I think that just is because Americans are inherently the type of people that don't want to be told what to do, But I thought that was such an interesting time. But going back to what you were talking about before, what I think scary now is like the painting of conversations to where you can't talk about health. My view on that though is if somebody's obese, that's that is their choice and their right as an American.
That's their prerogative.
I actually do everything I can to try and get that person to come over to the side of like, hey, listen, you'd be much more healthy if you add, or you'd be much more happy if you added some adversity to your life. That adversity basically makes you have self-confidence. That self-confidence will improve your life. And that does pertain to weight loss, but it also is just in general. But what's bad about that is when you have people, like I said, casting shame on other people.
Exactly.
That was a really weird thing that happened in the last,
It felt like it was overnight, It felt like it was overnight because I was definitely in that camp in the beginning. Like I'm definitely somebody who is more willing to take risk than others.
Yeah. And
so it's just one of those things where, people would call that stupidity. And it's like, well, I would say that like my risk taking has really benefited me to this point in my life, And so it's, I don't want to say there is a right and wrong here. There's definitely some truth somewhere in the middle, but that was just a nutso time.
Yeah.
And we're still in these like lingering effects, but it is crazy to say that I feel like that narrative has just like disappeared completely. So it's like, I don't see any kind of like vaccine stuff being pushed on people. There's not like fear of COVID. It feels like.
What are you talking about? Joe, the president in his first address to America this year, that he said,
talking about like a few days ago.
Yes, he was like, you want to get what you can do to be the most healthy in 2023 is get a vaccine.
Yeah,
which
I just don't see it on
or in a snowstorm.
I was just
going to
say
get a vaccine.
Oh yeah. I was just talking more like in the lines of like I'm just not seeing signage everywhere, digital ads. I'm just not like
It's not
seeing it where
pushed
my
on you
eyeballs
as
are
more.
personally.
Well, if you look at the stats on vaccination, that is purely because people have decided, now whether they're getting it or not. And the fall off of boosters was crazy. I want to say like 50% of people who got the first vaccination got the second booster, and then it was like down to 10% got the third.
I mean,
it was very,
there was
very
a lot of
like,
adverse effects to it. So, I have a friend that her whole arm went numb and she was like, well, that shouldn't happen. But everybody else is like, well, like in response to her, well, what's the big deal? Like, you should go get another one. Like people who got really, really sick from it and their parents are like, okay, time for your booster. Wait a minute. So the distortion of like what is actually health and what's not is insane.
preventative medicine needs to be something that is focused on in America a lot more.
Yeah.
I always said that when COVID first happened, what they could have done, and this is Donald Trump's fault. I mean, I would blame him at the beginning of this, is because he could have said, okay, we see that this is killing obese people more. We see this is killing old people more. So let's tell old people, hey, you need a shelter in place, and let's every night we're going to basically do an hour of television on whatever, we pay for, and we're just going to do free videos on like, hey, we understand that a huge majority of the American population doesn't work out. We are going to provide this service, and as a country, we are going to work out because we know that no matter what, risk factors go down as body fat goes down. But they didn't do that.
No, it was the exact opposite.
It was
the
like,
exact opposite.
From a person that's in the fitness industry, it seemed so obvious to me at the point. I was like, we're spending all this money doing this shit, but you are not. You could literally deploy this, and it would make the biggest difference. But we're not doing it.
Right.
And that's when I was like, what is going on here? This is a garbage
we were
dump.
in this. I mean, like from a 50-foot view, it's just like we're in this opportunity now where we can really. You got everybody's ears.
Yeah.
Everybody's listening. Everybody's looking for direction.
Right.
This is a monumental, point in human history, really.
Right.
Where you can really, really nail something home where it says, hey, guys, exercise and eating right is the absolute number one best thing that you can control every day to put yourself in position
Get
to
good sleep.
Yeah, all the variables.
Yeah.
And like none of these variables was part of what was, I'll just never forget, like overnight, all of a sudden Instagram, like if you put a stay home sticker on your post, you got it boosted like 10 times.
Right.
If you said like, just any of these things, you're
Go
like,
outside and get your vitamin D, then it drops.
absolutely. Yeah. You stayed anything along those lines. It actually had the little like eye for like information, like this might not be correct or true. I'm like, oh man,
I got blocked so many times.
I understand here's the thing that I understand, like in the world of science, it's like, I understand wanting to be very careful, when you are making recommendations of certain things, especially when it comes to drugs, when you don't, if you don't have long-term, data on whether or not those drugs are going to be safe for people or not. But things like vitamin D, where you're like, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. It's like, well, you know what? It's not going to hurt somebody if you just recommend they take some vitamin D or they go outside.
Right.
So just go ahead and recommend that, from the top down, recommend it.
Right.
Same thing with exercise. It's like, when they started shutting gyms down, which we can talk about how that affected your business.
Yeah.
I kept thinking in my head, like, this is not good. No. This is a disease that affects people who are overweight. And we're saying, hey, and most people don't have the means or the motivation to work out at home and make it substantial enough to make a difference.
Yeah.
And since COVID, United States is actually up another 8% obesity. So
8%?
Another 8%.
Another
8%.
8?
Another 8. Isn't up another 8. Isn't like
many,
we were at 36, now it's 44.
Within 3 years?
2.
2 years?
2.
Yeah,
now it's
insane.
I guess it'd be 2 years.
I also,
months,
what would be interesting to look at the data on, if that is primarily, the thing is a lot of people, the whole thing stressed them out to the point where it was like people were kind of like losing it a little bit. And I guarantee, because, I do this sometimes, is when I get stressed out, I eat. right? Because eat releases dopamine, makes you feel good.
Yep.
And it's, if you're going through a stressful time, it's like, hey, I'm going to eat. Same thing with alcohol. I bet alcohol sales and alcoholism went way through the roof.
Yeah, sales whenever the shutdown was going down was a great time for alcohol sales.
People were getting drunk on like a Tuesday. People
nothing else to do.
Like midday on a Tuesday.
I would have a drink like every night. That's something that was the one thing that was really cool was my brother way back in Pittsburgh. Him and his wife, we would sit on
Zoom call.
Yeah, on a Zoom call and just sit there and have a drink together and talk about whatever, everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And it was always a nightly occurrence. And I'm like, I'm drinking every day. That is not my life. Like, I don't do that. So
we're all on 75 hard right now. That was like day 3 for me. I was like, I had like eaten like crap like I had not eaten in a long time at the time. And I remember thinking in my head like, oh, I know how I am and I know where this is headed. And so I was like, I got to do something. And so I started 75 hard like 3 days into the shutdown because I was just like, otherwise it's going to get crazy.
Yeah.
The thing I want to talk to you about as far as your gym goes with the shutdown, well, when you first moved here, you had a totally different like idea for the port as far as how this was going to go.
Yeah.
And guys, like if anybody here is aspiring to open their own gym business or anything that involves fitness or business in general, I guess this could really apply. Heed Sheri's advice here because she got dealt like the most unforeseen to right off the bat you could possibly be given. So how'd this go down?
Oh man. Okay. So I'll try to keep it short and sweet, but, so like I said, 2013, I was diagnosed with Crohn's and my brother and sister-in-law happened to live in Liberty at the time.
You're in Pittsburgh. They're in Liberty, Missouri. Got it.
Yep. So I would come down and visit them a lot. And one weekend I had another friend, Jennifer, who happened to move down to Kansas City from Pittsburgh about a year or two before that. She's like, hey, I'm going to, take you out whenever you're down here. And I met this dude that she knew and he happened to be a personal trainer here. Well, not my type. Like this guy was not my type at all. However, I was really low. I was super sick and he happened to be that guy that like, on the other end of the phone, like helped me research stuff and everything. So 1.5 years later, we were, dating long distance. He asked me to open up this gym with him down in Kansas City. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to build and like, I'm going to move down there. We're going to build this together.
Not to mention, obviously, like get married and have a family.
Yeah, you would think, right? That would eventually happen. But, and that's something I've always wanted, so me, the hopeless romantic, right? I get off the plane 4 hours later, dude breaks up with me.
Have you already signed a lease?
Oh yeah.
Oh, no.
Construction was already underway. This is like August because I was coaching track up in Pennsylvania, and we signed a lease in June. Construction's already underway. This is like beginning of August probably, and I was just like, I thought he was kidding, Yeah,
like how does a human being go about this kind of like level of POS?
Yeah.
How does that? I mean, like, was this at least in person?
Yeah, it was in person. So the next several, I don't know what it was.
Does this person still live in Kansas City?
I don't think so.
I was going to say, like, how do I not know? I didn't know he was from here. I thought he was like from Pittsburgh with you.
No, he's from here.
Wow. Yikes.
And I don't think so. I don't even know whether he's alive now. I could tell you. I have no idea.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
Good.
No
healthy for you. Great to hear.
But, so you guys know I'm strong in my faith, and every single person back home was like, screw that, come home. Like, we just need you back here, like, so you can heal. Obviously heartbroken, like not knowing what's going on. And, I heard God tell me that I was supposed to stay, and that place would be a light and a dark place. And that's what I just kept hearing over and over and over again. And I didn't know why, but I'm like, okay, I'm just going to step out on faith and trust God. And it was hard because, that strained my relationship with my family. I'm super close with them. And I couldn't talk to them about anything because their answer was always just come home, And, so all the pain and all the struggles I was going through, I was just like, so how's the weather up there in Pennsylvania, and I just kept it surface level. But I found out over the next few months that he was just spending all of our business money. So it was dwindling down. The amount of money that was that was just taken out of there was just
But
unreal.
you guys were at this point just business partners now, in quotes.
Right. Just business partners. But it was all of my investment. So dude didn't put like a nickel into it. So all of my money and some money from my parents that helped me out, like
So
just,
my question
he was
is,
wiping it clean.
because I think
Did you have-
our listeners will be thinking the same thing. Let me finish this. This question would be like, when this breakup happened, how did you guys move forward as a business relationship? Because it would be very clear and cut and dry for, I feel like, myself or maybe many of the listeners. You're off this LLC, dude. Like, sorry, bruh. I don't owe you a dime.
Yeah. So at that point, I was just like, okay, maybe we can make this happen. You know, like we set, you know,
He's
we talked
from
about
here
this.
and you're not. Some vulnerability there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're like, if I want this business to work, I'm going to need a local guy that
Right.
knows a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
for everybody that's listening that might be wanting to start a business, this is why you get a partnership agreement
Yes.
that is drawn up by a lawyer.
Absolutely. So many things. I could always tell people, I can tell you what not to do because I've done it all wrong. So I could definitely coach you on that. But yeah, so anyways, I just started putting everything in my name. And like, you know, once I saw that and I came to him, I was like, dude, here's the thing. It's all in my name right now. If you want to get on board with me and by my rules, then cool. But if I didn't, and I knew he wasn't going to, but yeah, he walked out and it was like 1,000,000 pounds off my shoulders, but then like 1,000,000 pounds on. Cause I'm like, okay, now I'm halfway across the country. I don't know a single soul.
Now it's completely on me.
Right. Now it's completely on me. I've never owned a business before. Like I was a health and phys ed teacher, a coach before that. Like, you know, I have, you know, some experience under my belt, but never with running a business or running a gym. So I really was just like starting from scratch and just figuring it out. Like trial and error.
But your gift is
scraping by.
connecting with people.
Yeah.
You have a gift.
Yeah.
Genuine gift. And so that rings true today. So when people like talk about the port, if you guys are new to the port, it's just an unbelievable community. And that's something that we really value at Supplement Superstore. And so I feel like that's why we vibe so well right off the bat.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to think that, you know, you could go through something like that. And then you still are partnering with people because by nature you have trainers that are independent contractors, in quotes, correct?
Yeah.
That use your gym to train their clients.
Yeah.
And so you have more people that you're having to, in quotes, partner with. Tell us about some really great partnership examples, maybe. And then also, I know you had a local business that was using the front of your gym as a juicery.
Yeah.
That didn't do so hot.
Yeah, that was rough. I mean,
They were paying you like $1,000 around a month, right? Like something like
I mean,
nothing.
it was like 900, right? So that was a few months into like 2015. So I finally opened my doors. Like soft opening was like December 2014, and then January was all ago, and then it was like March or something. And I was just sitting up in front and like, you know, we need to do something with the space. It'd be really cool if we did like protein shakes or something up here, you know? So somebody
Post-workout smoothie bar.
right,
Yeah.
something like that. And so somebody had just introduced me to someone locally that was ready to start their business and open up their own juicery. So it seemed like the greatest partnership. You know, it could be awesome, right? And we put everything in paper and got things rolling. And yeah, it wasn't until the opening day for his place that I saw the other side to that person. And it was, and I'm not going to put it out there because it's just not worth it. But yeah, it was like Jekyll and Hyde. I was like, whoa.
This is a local juicery that's still in business, though, correct?
Yeah.
You could go there right now if you wanted to.
I could, but
just wouldn't be at your space.
yeah, it's not worth
We don't
it.
need to name it, but yeah, let's just say, people, the day that I'll never forget talking to you, because again, guys, think of that person that you know in your life that is just like always at the bare minimum trying to do the right thing and always trying to be compassionate and empathetic towards others. That's Sheri to me. And so when Sheri told me that like this person, tell me what happened on like their last day, I guess, of their like lease, of them saying that they were going to be like, all right, we're moving out, we're growing, the juicery's doing well, we're going to open our own business outside of the gym.
Yeah.
How do they leave your space?
So, I mean, throughout the couple years that he was there, it was a struggle. I mean, he was always threatening me. And, you know, just
Can I
me.
ask what kind of threats, just for our
I mean, it
listeners?
was like the stupidest stuff. Like he would say, I'm going to get my lawyer after you for like, man. Even my awnings that I bought awnings to have in the front of the building. He removed them and I wanted to put them back up, but he threatened to sue me for it. I mean, it was just the stupidest things. And it was so petty and so catty. I'm like, it's just not worth it. Because at that point, you guys have to remember too, like, I was severely sick at the time. Like, I wasn't able to eat every day. I wasn't able to even work out because I couldn't eat. My battle with Crohn's was like full-fledged. So in and out of the hospital with small bowel obstructions and everything. And it just was, so stressful. And so, yeah, to wrap things up. So the 2 years was just hell, really, to work with him. But then he had some kind of like plumbing issue or whatever. And he had to close his place for like a day. And then had to file for insurance or something. So he ended up closing the place down for renovations. Well, he blocked me and the gym on social media, and that's where he put this post. So after we used to have that Sweat Saturdays every Saturday. Mm-hmm. After a Sweat Saturday, went to brunch with some of my girls, and one of the girls were like, "Do you know about this?" And it said, "Close for renovations on Monday." And I'm like, "What?" So I didn't know anything about it. And I'm like, "Okay, I'm your landlord. If you're renovating something, I need to know about it." So I texted him. I'm like, "If you're doing anything other than painting, I need to know." Well, I didn't hear anything. So I had my landlord talk to him, and he just told him he was replacing the flooring. Okay. 2.5 weeks go by. I think it was like Memorial Day weekend. I come back and I had the key for upstairs, and still everything's papered up. And I'm like, it doesn't take 2.5 weeks to replace your floor. So I go in there. The entire place is gutted. Entire place is gutted. And so I'm just like, what the heck is going on? And I get my landlord up there, and he's just shaking, like, we're both in like mind blown. So it comes a time for I was supposed to sign a new lease with him, renew his lease. And in my gut, every time I went to send it to him, my gut just twisted. I'm like, I cannot continue to deal with this guy. So I gave him like 45 to 60 days. I forget what it was. I think it was 45 days to get the place back to like the way he found it, He went in there and ripped out the plumbing, ripped out the electric, ripped out all the flooring. Like, there was even just like floorboards.
And the only way you would do this is just purely to be a dick, correct?
Yeah.
Like, there was no like him taking stuff to make it better.
No. I mean, the holes all over the place. It was, complete demolition, and left it like that. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
If you
really got to believe in karma.
If you are, yeah. If you
really got to believe in karma.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't,
right.
If you're entering into a partnership and you and the partner don't see a bigger picture as far as like what your purpose is.
Yeah.
And it's basically two different people that are just trying to extract money from their specific business.
Yeah.
You're going to run into problems.
Absolutely.
Because people are inherently selfish unless you have that bigger purpose. It's really easy for, one of the partners to basically become selfish, which is basically what happens.
Stomp on the other, but being like, that's another level. That was just, there's a lot of spite in there.
Well, when you're selfish like that, what you start doing is painting a different narrative in your head.
Oh yeah.
Right. That can be completely.
Oh, he was the victim somehow.
Yes.
In this.
It can be completely disjointed from reality and from the truth.
Yeah.
But it's just because you have this narrative that you have in your head that it's like, this is what I'm trying to do. And that,
right.
I'm entitled to this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, partnerships are just a hard deal. We meet a lot of people that look at me and Jeff and they're like, I can't believe you guys have worked together since you were 20. And I'm like,
it's like a marriage. It really is. You have to work at it every day because you're two different people with two different, personalities. And I know that you have your strengths, and you fill in the gaps, but it really is something you have to work at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we fought like brothers, I feel like, in our 20s, probably early 20s majority. But like once we just kind of figured out who each other were and recognized that like, hey, he's really great at these things that I don't really like doing and vice versa. I'm psyched that he is the way he is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, it's wild. The more we're in business, the more thankful I am to have Kyle as a business partner.
Yep.
In the beginning, I was like, this guy sucks. But
right.
But since then, dude, the more years we're together, the more it's
Shit.
like, damn, I would keep watching all these other ones fall off or
Yeah.
have issues and stuff. And it's just like, man, I mean, it's just a lot of respect, and it's something that we're super thankful for. I'd like to, well, I guess I shouldn't speak for Kyle there,
Yeah.
but I'm definitely thankful for.
Jeff sucks.
Yeah.
So I think though that's that's just one of those lessons in business. We have come across a lot of different opportunities that felt like, man, should we take this? Because it relieves some of the pressure, the financial pressure. You're like, I could do this, and it might not quite align with what my ultimate goal is for my business, but it would help relieve a little bit of this. And it's hard as shit to say no to when those things come up.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you're basically saying no to having more financial cushion in your business. And so for you, when you have this opportunity, this guy that's willing to sublease from you, I can imagine how hard it was, to try and say no or try and kick him out when you were wanting to kick him out because you're battling. You're like, well, I'm getting this extra revenue from subleasing to him. It's just, I don't
choose
envy
your
that.
hard there. You
Yeah.
have to, this guy's really hard to deal with, to be in a relationship with,
Right.
but he does lessen the burden as far as the monthly rent.
Right.
Yikes. So has that place turned into anything else since?
Yeah, it's actually a few years ago, someone leased it and did all the reno and everything, and it was a Herbalife Nutrition Club. It was called Journey Nutrition, and then just recently, DC Nutrition took over, which is one of my trainers. So it's kind of like a good spot for him. Dion Cummings is his name.
Yeah, we follow him on our Protein Bros account.
Yeah. So he took it over and just starting, like it's great because it goes hand in hand because his clients that he's training downstairs can come upstairs for, energy drinks, protein shakes and stuff like that. So it's good.
It works out.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you have a specific, like you have a recurring tenant that you also have a great relationship with.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk to you about your personal trainers that you have working for you now.
Sure.
Because personal training, guys, it's very difficult. Most trainers get started in a general fitness gym with a ton of members to help feed and start that trainer's book of business.
Yep.
Right. A trainer comes, the way a gym typically works, you sign up, you get a membership, they give you a, in quotes, free personal training session. And that's to obviously sit you down and talk to you about, well, what are your goals? And, let's be clear, having a personal trainer is extremely, extremely great for somebody's ability to get in better shape quicker.
Yep.
To build great habits. The accountability, it's all there. So if you want to guarantee yourself results, sign yourself up with a personal trainer. And so once that book of business is built, that trainer starts to realize, wow, I don't make any money.
Yeah.
So they're like, wow, I make no money and I'm having to be here at 4 a.m. This is really tough.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to do this on my own. And so that's where Sheri comes in with the port. And so you've had a lot of trainers that are getting started though, but they didn't have that book of business established, right? What's been so different, you feel like, in the trainers that you have now versus maybe some that you've had in the past?
Yeah. Honestly, from the beginning, everybody told me not to do it the way that I've done it, like they.
And why is that, you think?
I think it worked for them, the way that things were set up worked for them. And like they were the head coach and then they hired personal trainers just like that,
Underneath them,
Got it. And then whether it was like classes or group sessions throughout the day or, one-on-one clients, they would help them build their book. But for me, I knew that if you think about my first story, my beginning story, he was the personal trainer. Like I would train athletes here and there because that's my lane. I love sports performance. I was always a coach. But it wasn't like I was like the one that wanted to take on 12 clients a day all day.
Totally.
That was just not my thing.
Yeah, not one-on-one sessions for sure.
Yeah. And so, because that drains me and it doesn't, people thrive on that and I'm not one of those people. And you just know your strengths. So I didn't want to be the one in there all day, every day, just training people and not being able to work on the business. So I did set it up the way that I did because I truly am that person that I love to watch. I love to help other people build their dreams. And so if it's someone's dream to build their personal training business and to do that full time and develop that, that's what I want to do. And so I want to give them, the space to do that. So I always kept my rent lower than anybody else in town. Kind of shot me in the foot sometimes just because, you know, like you have the people that have the $10 Planet Fitness, you know, membership, and they don't value it as much, but there's a lot of other people that it was really beneficial to along the way. And I found me being a stepping stone for a lot of people too.
Totally.
Because of that. So, you know, you'd have people come in, they start building, and then they see the bright, shiny new toy elsewhere, and they're like, okay, I'm going to go there, you know. It is what it is, you know, like you guys know me, I am that compassionate heart, you know, and I want to help people get started and want to help them out. But yeah, I would say that in the beginning, we were all trying to figure it out. So like, even just trying to build clientele and get bodies in there and everything, it was a group effort. And now, you know, over time you get established and people are like coming to the table and bringing their own clientele with them, which is good. And I always tell them like, yeah, there's people that inquire about personal training and I'll definitely feed you them. However, it's mostly on you, just the way that it's set up. So you got to market yourself. You got to put yourself out there.
This is your own business,
yeah.
and you're running it out of our facility.
Exactly.
You can open your own gym. You can do it yourself, but this is my gym. So
right.
It's tough. And there's a lot of, you know, we have a lot of friends who own gyms that, you know, that run a similar system in that sense, but never is it almost exclusively that, right?
Yeah.
There's also some general membership,
yep.
and there's a ton of gyms like that. So for yourself, let's get back to the trainers that you have now.
Yeah.
What are your favorite characteristics about them, and what do you feel like makes them successful? And if you're a listener at home, you know, what do you encourage them to do?
Yeah. I think the ones I have now are just hungry. You know, they're younger. They want to grow. And even one of mine said the other day, he's like, you know, I talked to so-and-so and they told me not to lower my prices, like not to devalue yourself. And just like we were talking about, other people, you know, they judge your price tag, you know, and if they're not serious and they're not committed, then your price tag might not be, you know, like they can go out to buy the Gucci purse, but they're not going to spend it on personal training. And so I really try to coach them on that. Like, don't drop your prices just to get people in here because they're going to be the wrong ones. And I'm proud of them for like sticking to that. So the ones now, they really do value themselves. They are hungry to educate themselves too and still grow. And they have other people in the business that are mentors, you know, like they'll come to me for some things, but I do love that they go to a lot of other trainers and people that have been in business for a long time doing what they do. And they go to them for information and knowledge. So it's good.
I love that. So you're in a spot now where you're not having to be as hands-on as you used to be.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Yeah. It's it's nice, but it's also hard because I do want to be there. However, like
that's a weird transition.
It is.
Yeah, we've done that.
Yeah. It is a weird transition. It's hard to like let go when it's your baby. But I also have a lot of new and great things happening in my life. You know, like I am engaged and we are getting married in June and I'll be moving to Topeka. So I'll be an hour away.
Does that affect the port?
Yeah. I mean,
top city.
Yeah. I know, right?
The actual capital of Kansas.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, there might be some changes coming up, but I'm not gonna.
Is there gonna
talk
be a
on
port,
that now? So.
Topeka?
Yeah. No.
I was like,
definitely not. Definitely
we just
not.
got an announcement.
Definitely not. Not in the foreseeable future. But, yeah, there's just things. There's a thing that I need to put my focus on.
When you're ready to make that announcement, though, come back on the show so we can tell everybody.
Absolutely.
Sound good?
Yeah.
We're in a spot where, you know, I feel like local gyms are, you know, we're under attack, you know, there's just like, we protect local fitness. We try to as much as we can here at Protein Bros Podcast. And like, in the last year, it's been fun to watch some local gyms do really well.
Yeah.
But it's been sad to see some local gyms get bought up.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's always the gyms that we don't know them. You know what's crazy about it is that it's always the gym. You know, I'll say the athletic club, for example, I'll just name them by name because they did just put like $2 million worth of equipment into the athletic club, and they were beautiful. There's one on 135th. There was one on 95th and Metcalf.
Yeah.
So we were really excited about those gyms, and we had a great relationship with them. And then overnight, they get bought up by Genesis after the pandemic. And they had, I mean, dude, like $2 million worth of hammer strength equipment in there, like really nice stuff, and really popular gyms. And just overnight, they became a Genesis. So now in Olathe, for example, by our Olathe store, there are, I think, 3 or 4 Genesis locations.
Man.
And there's not one general fitness gym that's not Planet Fitness or Genesis in Olathe.
It's just heartbreaking.
The foundation Olathe is opening soon, though.
Oh, good. Good for them.
On 119th and Metcalf, or 119th.
They're branching out south.
As an example, yeah. But I'm saying, like, finally,
yeah.
You know, it's just been very frustrating to watch all this opportunity get, you know, gobbled up by people that don't need the money.
You know what's crazy is that, like, I've always been, I don't know, it's like a chip on my shoulder, I guess. I don't know. I've always not been a fan of, big corporate gyms. And back in Pittsburgh, I went to, like, I'm in my 20s, I'm going to an LA Fitness, and I'm like, I hate going to the gym. I'm like, why do I hate going to the gym? I was an athlete, you know, like I love fitness. Like, why am I loathing coming here? And then it clicked. And I'm like, because it's not the right kind of place for you. You know, it just wasn't. And
no culture, no community.
Yeah, you're just another number. And there's always like guys looking at you when you're doing like glute. I don't know. It's just too much. But so I sought out a performance center, like sports performance center, and I just started going there. And I was training with like pro athletes, collegiate athletes, high school athletes, and I was like, this feels like home.
Yeah, you know? Right up your alley.
Yeah, and it felt great. And so whenever I did open the port, I wanted that kind of lane, but I always kind of looked at it as like CrossFit. They CrossFit gyms are great at like building community.
Love it.
Yeah, so good at building community. I'm like, why can't a general fitness gym do that? You know, like why not? And
but then you did.
That was my goal. And so to just really build up the community, but it not have to be a CrossFit gym. And
great example.
The big thing with like that I've noticed when it comes to gyms and building good community is you just have to sweat together. You have to suffer together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the more you suffer together, it's just like anything else. It creates bonds that are stronger. Yeah. So, that's why people who go to war, they have, you know, the strongest bonds ever. Mm-hmm. It's the guys that they went to war with. And I think to gyms, to a far lesser extent, that's kind of what, you know, brings people together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. People that were an athlete and played on a team and had that camaraderie with their teammates, that's the same concept, right? Yeah. And so what I love, you know, as an example of what Sheri's done at the port is Sweat Saturdays, where you could be a member or a non-member. It didn't matter. If you showed up on Sweat Saturday, you could do a fitness class, more or less. It was a circuit.
Yeah.
And you could come in for free and train if you just brought a canned good.
Yeah.
You know, and so you have at the same time, I'll never forget this. It's the same time where this dude is ripping out her electrical and plumbing and making her life a living hell. Sheri turns around and is like, all right, everybody, like show up on Saturday, work out for free at my gym, just bring a canned good. And I'm just like, man, how does she do this?
Yeah.
You know, like how do you stay so kind-hearted and have so much empathy for others and help out and just have so much compassion when people have taken advantage of that from you? I feel like so many times in your life. How do you continue to just like have this amazing heart?
Oh man, it's by the grace of God for sure. It really is. I get it from my mama. I definitely do. But yeah, I mean, I really have been that stepping stone for a lot of people. I've been the target for a lot of people. I've had people tell me they're going to take my gym. Like they're going to ruin me. I've just been the target and I don't know why, but you know, when people are going through what they're going through, you know, hurt people, that kind of thing. And they see you as a compassionate person, then they see an easy target. And they try to take advantage of it. Like I've gained a lot of wisdom. So there's a lot of people think that they get over on me by, and I'm like, I know exactly what's going on. I just don't want to fight that fight right now. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
You can tell when people are trying to get a leg up on you. And you're like,
yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. I mean, I'd had a trainer that recently left, that was getting away with stuff for a long time. But I'm like, you'll weed yourself out. Mm-hmm. It's gonna,
Karma will catch up.
I'll put things in place, you know, systems a little bit tighter. Mm-hmm. You'll weed yourself out. It wasn't worth, you know, battling over it. So
if you had somebody who was wanting to start there's a lot of people that are really passionate, and you know what I love about fitness is that a lot of people use it to find their own self-worth.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's some people that would like to parlay this newfound love for themselves and turn it into their way of making a living, right? And so they want to start a gym or they want to start a training studio. What advice would you give somebody getting started with, you know, do you do it by yourself? Do you do it with a partner? Do you do it with a bank? Do you do it on your own? How would you tell someone to get started all over again?
Man, I would say really know yourself very, very well, whether you're a team player or whether you're like a solo dolo kind of person. Because I mean, I'm very much so a team player. I'm very much so a partner person. And so, to be honest, it's been a lot of it has been a draining experience for me because I don't have that person to like, you know, bounce off of. Like you guys have, you know, like we talked about before, you have your strengths, and you fill in the gaps. I didn't have that person to fill in the gaps. And you just really have to know yourself. But if you are like that person that's like, I've always been, you know, good by myself. I can do do it all. Still build your team. Like outsource the things that are
you're not good at.
Right.
Yeah.
Outsource the things.
You know you're a weakness.
Exactly.
It's a weakness. Yeah.
Exactly. And just put you can oversee it, but just make sure that you have some people that are taking a few things off your plate, because if you are starting out a business and you're training all day, you're not going to have the time to do all of the other things, you know? So, and know even though things have changed a lot over the years, just kind of know what you value from the beginning. Like mine was always community. I always valued that. And that's one thing that I never wanted to waver on. So I've given people their membership, you know, money back and said, go elsewhere, because they weren't the right vibe. They started, you know, hitting on people in the gym or making other people uncomfortable or whatever it is, starting to fight. And I'm like, we just don't do that here. If you go to Genesis, go somewhere else. Like we just don't do that here.
Yeah, you got to protect the culture.
Exactly. And so just really, really know who you are and what you value before you make that leap. For sure.
Yeah.
We've had, as an example, Jessica Quisenberry. She opened up a Lyft up in Liberty, or I guess it's, help me out, Kearney?
Okay.
Does that sound accurate,
Yeah.
Luke?
Yeah.
She opened up Lyft, and she was somebody who was, a customer. Then she decided, she was a passionate, customer, and somebody who's passionate about fitness. To all of a sudden, she's got a few clients. To all of a sudden, now she's got her own personal space. And it started off as like the back of a warehouse, and now it's her own, got its own frontage and signage and stuff. And so it's been fun to watch some women do this, start from nothing and go to having a successful gym. So we're super proud of you for what you've done for the last 8 years.
Thank you.
And excited for what this next announcement is.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. The thing is like, at some point, there were people that probably took advantage of your kindness, but it's still way over, you being the person that you are today. It's everything that you went through, everything that you've learned. It's totally worth, sticking to your guns and just being true to yourself.
Yeah.
Which is what you've never been anything other than Sheri. You know what I'm saying? You're always very much just the person that you are. And that's why I appreciate you. You're
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah.
You've competed in natural bodybuilding. You gonna do it again?
Never say never, but I don't plan on it.
I'm with you.
Yeah. I mean, I never say never, but honestly, it's been okay. So when I first moved to Kansas City, and I'm a gym owner, and everyone's like, "Oh, what shows have you done?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like,
what's a show?
What's a show? Like, I played volleyball and ran track, and like, what are you talking about? Because that just was not my lane at all. But I told you in 2015 I had surgery, right?
Sure.
And so I had just lost total control of what my body was doing. I was so skinny, had no muscle because I couldn't lift at all. And I decided then, I'm like, I just need to take control of my body again. So I decided that I'm gonna compete. Why? I don't know, because I really had no muscle to go on. But I just wanted to take control back. And so 11 months later, in September 2016, I'm up on stage, and I mean, my goal was different than everybody else. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna win this," and I'm like, "No, I'm just gonna get up there."
Mm-hmm.
And
This was the KC Classic.
Yeah.
Fred Roulette show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was the first time, and like, I'm so weird. The reasons why I do things are so weird. But the second time was, It was the year I turned 40, and I was invited to the Angel Bikini
Competition
show.
bikini show.
Yeah. And
Love
so
those
I
girls.
went. I know, and it was great. It was awesome, and they had this clearance rack on the back or whatever, which is it was not clearance pricing, but I was back there and I saw it and it was like, I love that suit. I'm gonna buy it. I just turned 40. I can compete at Masters. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
That's just how it happened.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
An on sale swimsuit.
Yeah.
Is what got you,
I know.
Is what got you to compete
I'm the
again.
weirdest person. Yeah.
Competition.
Well, we gotta
Yeah.
we gotta have something to shoot for sometimes.
yeah.
you know,
Anybody
when you have a
hasn't
cheaper
competed,
mindset. Yeah.
and they don't know how much a competition bathing suit is. It's
Yeah.
very pricey.
Yeah.
Kyle, how much was your banana hammock when you competed?
Very cheap.
It was hot pink.
Men's banana hammock, way less.
Yeah.
Women's
$8.
Women's bedazzled
Right.
bikinis
Floss.
tops.
$700.
Way-
Right.
Yeah. Women's
Way
bedazzled
different.
floss.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But a man's
Way
banana
more.
hammock, they'll just give it to you.
I
Right.
think I got.
Buy one, get
I
one.
think I got it off Amazon.
Back in
Sounds about
2010,
right.
were you using Amazon in 2010?
I don't know. I mean, I got it online.
I'm sure you weren't a member.
Right.
I had
know?
a pink one and a black one, and I had a black one for a long time.
That was his posing trunks,
Nice.
if you will.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
posing. Yeah, it's definitely not.
Yeah.
This is posing trunks.
Posing hammock.
Fantastic.
I think I gave my pink ones to one of my buddies on his bachelor party. I said, "Here you go. You can wear this for the weekend." And he, I think, threw them into the lake or
Warm on
wherever
his
we were at.
Man.
Was a cyclops for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
Dude, good times. So
Yeah.
we ask everybody the same question.
Okay.
Have you listened to a single episode of the Protein Bros podcast, Sheri? Don't lie to us.
I haven't listened to the end of any of
Okay.
them actually. I'm only like I get about
Well,
halfway through and then I'm
This is the most exciting.
This is the most important question that you'll get asked this
Great.
entire podcast.
okay.
You moved to Kansas City
Yeah.
from Pittsburgh,
Yep.
which is known for nothing.
Like chili or something.
They're known
weird.
for power outages and, pigeons.
Bridges.
Coal.
We're the city of bridges, y'all. Come on.
You guys
City
got
of-
coal mines.
City
mines,
of
steel.
construction delays everywhere
Yes.
is what that
I
is.
just
so
imagine
true.
I live
Pittsburgh
downtown Kansas City and we're building that new bridge, like the new Buck O'Neill Bridge.
Yeah.
And I've been having to drive detour for 260 days
Imagine
so far.
that being all over the city.
Yeah, so it's just a city of construction delays. We here in Kansas City love our barbecue, as you know,
Yeah.
and we want to know if you were to, for example, have some family visiting,
Mm-hmm.
and you are around some culture in Westport. There's a lot of good food down there.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the best barbecue in Kansas City? Where are you taking somebody? You get one spot.
One that's it.
One spot. You can say the best this versus the best that somewhere else. That's fine.
Okay. So if you want burnt ends,
Your number one draft pick.
go to Q39. That's my favorite.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
pretty good.
Been a long
But
time since I've had either nine now.
I know.
Sad.
But overall, and this is only because preface, there's a lot of barbecue places out there that you cannot get anything like green or healthy or anything, right?
True.
Right. So I kind of steer clear of those ones. I'm sure that they're fantastic, but I tend to lean towards Jack Stack because you can kind of get the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
They do have some salads at Jack Stack.
They do.
Jack
Q39's got the buffalo cauliflower.
Yeah,
Dude, it's God's gift.
I know.
Have
It's
you-
so good. Have you had that?
Have you had
It's so good.
Jack Stack has really good burn ins.
They do. They do. I just favor Q39's burn ends a little bit
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
It's their sauce. I think
Yeah.
they have slightly better sauce.
I think that's
Just
it.
my opinion.
Kyle's a sauce guy.
Yeah.
I'm really saucy.
He loves all the different sauces. When it comes to barbecue, he's just like, I'm not a big fan of their sauce.
Right.
He trashes Gates, just drop kicks them.
That's great.
Because
he
This
doesn't
is
like their
garbage.
sauce.
I've only eaten at Gates like maybe once or twice the whole time I've lived here.
Yeah,
so
but I would definitely take somebody to Gates just for the experience of getting yelled at.
Yeah,
Like, that's
right.
fun.
Them and Arthur Bryant's are obviously the OGs.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Man, I've had Arthur Bryant's. It was the most forgettable experience to the point where I couldn't tell you anything about it. That's how forgettable it was.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it besides I just was unimpressed.
Right.
Hey, here's my
Tell nobody the history, and you go to Q39, you go to Arthur Bryant's. Like, what are we talking about?
Here's
Right.
here's
You know?
my underrated barbecue spot in all of Kansas City, right over by you, Char
Yeah.
Bar.
You like Char Bar
is
that
You
much?
don't like Char Bar?
I mean, I like it, but I wouldn't say it's like
Have
when
you
it comes to
had-
barbecue.
Have you had there specifically the sandwich? What is it? The burnt hell or the burnt heaven? Is it burnt
Oh,
heaven?
burnt heaven.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
It's
Maybe that's a
it's
post
burn-in
75 hard
sandwich.
one, though.
Oh yeah.
Is it similar to Q39's Mr. Burns?
I don't know.
What's a great sandwich name?
Mr. Burns. That's great.
Help us out here. Is that it right there, Luke?
Oh.
That's not it. That's a Food Network sandwich.
Ooh-wee.
From Char Bar?
Yeah,
Yeah,
bro.
it says Char Bar.
Showcased on Food Network. We
Yeah.
had no idea.
What's it called?
No.
Burnt Heaven.
Wait.
Burnt
Or
Heaven.
Burnt Heaven.
Look at that thing.
Okay.
Told you guys.
With the
man.
slaw and the straws on it.
Oh,
Bro, I
see?
tell you right now,
Slaw
I
and
had
straws.
that-
They get that from Pittsburgh. That's a Pittsburgh sandwich right there.
Oh,
I'm
on.
just
Don't
saying.
say it. Don't
It
say
is.
that.
Permane Brothers.
We cannot even confirm nor
Dude.
deny.
I'm
I
saying
had a best friend growing up that was from
straws and
Pittsburgh.
straws.
And I swear to God, like no one fanned out harder. Like if a Pittsburgh Pirate, were to like hit a home run, I'd get a text.
yeah, dude.
I watched the
What's
Super Bowl in 07 whenever they lost to the Packers.
Yeah.
That was the most gratifying Super Bowl watch party I've ever been to because we were just dogging him.
Just hating.
It felt so
just
good.
hating.
I go back and I feel bad about it, but
Right.
it's like at the time it was so gratifying because he was so in your face about it.
My buddy Dave grew up in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and he likes like the Pirates, the Steelers, Penn State, Pittsburgh. He likes like all of them, and I'm like, is this common? Like, in Kansas, it's like you're the K State or KU.
I know, it's
and
like-
people are psychos about it.
Okay, so no. Okay, here's the thing. If you're a Penn Stater, as I am, you really don't care about Pitt.
Yeah,
Yeah, Pitt's just JV, aren't they?
Yeah, but Pitt really cares about Penn State,
yeah.
which is weird. But then also you
Yeah,
have the backyard brawl with Pitt and WVU. They're the big rivals. Like they're the ones that go head to head all the time.
Who's
They were in
that?
the same Pitt and WVU.
Oh, West Virginia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So they're the big rivals, but like Pitt and Penn State are just now playing each other again after decades of not playing each other. So it was kind of like,
Yeah, Mizzou, for example, we went to Missouri State, and everybody at Missouri State would talk shit on Mizzou.
Nobody
Mizzou-
cares.
And,
in Mizzou.
Right.
and Mizzou's like, why would we ever talk shit on that JV team?
They'd be
Missouri
like,
State.
Right.
hold on.
You guys were Southwest Missouri State like a year ago. Look how cute you guys are calling
They're
yourselves
like,
Missouri State.
Seriously.
There's a college down there in Springfield.
right.
We had more undergrad than they did just like a few years ago, crazy enough.
And you know what's really funny is that I had so I used to teach at Aliquippa. Have you guys heard of it? Aliquippa High School, where Darrell Rivas went. And,
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan
Yeah,
Baldwin and-
wasn't it also Elway went there?
mm,
Isn't Elway a Pitt guy?
yes, he's a Pitt guy. Who was the? Well, there's somebody from Mike Ditka,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've heard of him.
Ty Law.
Oh, wow.
Sean
Ty
Gilbert.
Law. Ty
Yeah.
Law is
Yeah.
a blast from the past. And
Yeah.
also probably a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wait, Darrell Rivas up for the Hall of Fame this year.
oh yeah, that's
right.
awesome.
Mhm. First
job,
year
bro.
eligible. We'll
Pretty
see.
sweet.
He's a finalist. We'll see.
Nice. So yeah, so that's where I taught. I taught there for 8 years. And where was I going with this? My goodness.
The high school, Aliquippa.
Yeah. What were we talking about
Rivalries.
before that? Rivalries. Oh, yeah. So I find out that 2 of my former students are playing, they play for WVU. And I'm like, oh, they're playing at KU this weekend. So I text one of them. I'm like, hey, I'm coming to your game, And I'm coming out of the women's bathroom. And this is like, this is crazy. We're at Kansas. And then I hear, eat shit, Pitt, from the WVU fans. And I'm like, really? Here still? And they're like, yeah, everywhere. Like,
They're like, yeah,
Can't
Pittsburgh
ever.
is
Dude,
still the worst.
I know, obviously, the DeMar Hamlin situation was very
Yeah.
tragic.
Yeah.
I was told that there from some of the people that are online, like if you were at that game when everybody was just waiting to see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
The Bengals and Bills fans rejoiced together and just saying "F the Chiefs" and had a chant going.
that doesn't
Oh,
surprise
no.
me a bit.
And I was like, dude, if we end up getting like the 1 seed purely because they don't play that game, like it's just going to secure the Chiefs as the most hated team in the country
Yeah.
since the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's going to be kind of sad. I hope we don't get that narrative, but it sounds like it's coming.
When it's
possible.
When you have so many AFC championships like happen in Kansas City, eventually people are going to start hating.
4 in a row. Could be 5 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Just
So.
saying.
Gonna be the
All right.
target.
Well, it was great having you on. Like I said, you're one of our favorite people, and honestly, as far as like friends that we had in the community, one of our very first. And so I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, we love you, Sheri.
Absolutely.
And
Love you guys too.
we're excited to hear about what's coming up.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't
She's
already,
gonna tell us when we turn this off.
yeah. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you haven't shared it, please share it. And if you haven't gotten a Protein Bros Miami Vice shirt. Those are still available in some of our stores. We have actually completely run out in some of them.
They are limited.
They are very limited if you get one, but all you have to do is go by the store, let them know that you have subscribed to the Protein Bros podcast, and they'll hook you up with one on the house. All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.